Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The topic this time is To Cloud or Not to Cloud. This webinar is hosted by the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center. Speaking today will be Ron Collins from Amicus Attorney. The Legal Technology Resource Center is an ABA member benefit provided by the Law Practice Management section of the ABA. The LTRC has been providing lawyers with legal technology guidance for more than 25 years. You can find a variety of legal technology articles, guides, videos, and other resources on our website at www.lawtechnology.org or at our blog, www.lawtechnologytoday.org. Ron Collins is an experienced attorney, a fellow of the College of Law Practice Management, and an internationally recognized author and speaker on the subject of law and technology. He is also the founder and CEO of Gavel & Gown Software, a company dedicated to providing practice management solutions that work the way lawyers do. Thank you all for joining us. We'll now begin the webinar.
Thanks, Rose, and thank you everyone for joining me. I'm really delighted to be with you today and to have the chance to talk with you about some of the choices that lawyers face in managing their practices. As you may know, besides being an attorney, I'm the founder of Amicus Attorney, which is the world's leading practice management software. We're pretty excited that we've just had our 20th anniversary, and in those 20 years, we've helped tens of thousands of law firms and had feedback from literally hundreds of thousands of users on how to improve software that works for lawyers. So we've got a lot of experience in this area, and I'm going to be using Amicus to illustrate some of my points, but my comments are really mostly going to be pitched at a very general level that could apply to many different products. Now, one thing that is important to know is that Amicus has both a full desktop product and a full cloud product. So in talking with you today, I have no bias between the two. Most vendors that you talk to are only going to sell one or the other, so they're going to try to persuade you that either cloud is horrible or that cloud is the best thing to ever happen. But Amicus is unique in that we have no bias between them. So in my comments today, I'm simply going to be doing my best to help you with all the considerations to make your own choices. So there's an old saying that you can't have your cake and eat it too. That's what we're told. And while it's an English figure of speech, other languages have their equivalent. In Chinese, it's you can't have a horse that runs fast and consumes no feed. In Polish, you can't have the wolf full and the lamb whole. In Italian, they say that you can't have the wine barrel full and your wife drunk. I kind of like the Italian approach. In German, you can't expect to get washed without getting wet. Or my favorite, in Hungarian, the same saying is, it's impossible to ride two horses with one butt. Well, however you express it, the idea is that you can't have the best of both worlds. And as we're going to see in our discussion today, that's no longer true for practice management. And it comes down to the cloud. These days, it seems everyone's talking or at least thinking about the cloud, wondering how it applies to them and whether they should be going to it. Why? I mean, what is it that everybody is so attracted to with the cloud? And fundamentally, we're going to go into it in more depth, but fundamentally it's about mobility and flexibility with different devices that provide the simplicity of working anywhere you want on anything you want. Tablets like iPads are really quickly changing how we work. We don't want to be tied to our desks. With an iPad, we can do work almost anywhere. Or we may just want to work from our home PC or our Macintosh. We also use smartphones constantly, and with them, we can connect to the internet and get almost any information we want. So we want to be able to do all that with our law practice as well. The good news is that now we can. The cloud offers tremendous mobility and device versatility, but it has its drawbacks, and like so much else, there are trade-offs. We're going to examine these trade-offs and discuss how they impact your practice. And we're going to look at how we can have our cake and eat it too. Okay, I'm going to be looking at both, but let's start with the cloud. You probably, whether you know it or not, already are using one or more cloud applications. These are some generic applications that I'm sure many of the people in the audience today are using. Things like Google Apps, Gmail, Hotmail, iCloud if you're a Macintosh or iPad user, Office 365, Skype. I mean, everybody's done a Skype call by now, Dropbox. There's so many applications like that, What you may not have realized is that these are all cloud applications. So if you're using any of the programs or services that are on my screen right now, then you're already using the cloud. And then the question comes down to, should you be doing that for professional services? There are also some very specific legal cloud solutions. There's practice management. There's document management, time and billing, document assembly. All of these are available on the cloud now so that you don't have to install anything on your desktop PC. There's also litigation tools, legal research. I mean, who hasn't done a search of LexisNexis or Westlaw or Lois Law, one of the other fine online legal services? That legal research is, in fact, a cloud service. And then there are what I call fully hosted solutions, where someone will put everything a law firm might need, from Microsoft Word down to its accounting and everything, all onto a server in the cloud that you access remotely. So there's a wide variety of different legal cloud solutions. I've grouped them in two batches on this slide because, in fact, document management, time and billing, document assembly all become or can become part of practice management. So the vast majority of cloud solutions that are available today specifically for lawyers are, in fact, either practice management itself or subsets of practice management. So that's where we're going to focus this afternoon. And for that reason, we'll just very quickly define what is practice management. And I tend to think of it on two sides, the professional side and the business side. On the professional side, you've got organizing your client matter files, all of your documents, calendaring, tasks, contacts, phone calls, most importantly, email, and knowledge, the research and other legal information that you put together in your practice. The business side, maybe a little less attractive, but it's what pays the bills. It's your time and expenses, billing, collections, and, of course, trust management and related functions. And there are also a number of related tools ranging from conflict of interest searches, the ability to report or see cross-sections to manage your practice better, practice assistance that will help you do things or calculate deadlines, workflow management, document assembly. There's a lot of different aspects to practice management. And very briefly, why people care about practice management, because if you don't care about it, then you really don't care whether you're going to the cloud or the desktop. It's because you have a better organized practice, more efficiencies, you work together better as a team. You make more money because you can capture more billable time. Your clients are happier. You're happier because you can bill and collect more easily. And if you can get all of this done, you're going to have more time for the important things in life. Last but not least, it reduces risk. There's so many causes of professional negligence and malpractice suits that can be eliminated with practice management software, which is why we sum it up by saying with practice management, you can do more, bill more, and go home early. All right, so we're here to compare how that can be done and achieved, and those really important benefits, realized or not, with cloud or desktop, and what you have to decide or think about as a professional to make that choice. I'm going to start with the cloud, and then I'm going to move to desktop. There's a lot of advantages to the cloud. First and foremost, as we said before, it's about mobility. With a cloud application, you can use it anywhere, anytime, or at least anywhere, anytime that you have internet access at a reasonable speed. You can also use almost any computer or device. So, 10 years ago, we all used PCs and really almost only PCs, and that was considered the only business tool. Today, dare we say it, we're actually allowed to use Macintoshes and to recognize that they have a friendly and easy interface. Particularly, people tend to use PCs at home, Macs at home and PCs at the office. iPads, as we know, have started a phenomenal technical revolution. The statistics are that the sales of PCs are way down this year as tablets, be they iPads or Android tablets and other such devices, are surging at a phenomenal pace. There are so many of these tablets being sold, and that's because people want to use them, and the cloud makes it really easy to do so. Smartphones as well. A few years ago, that term didn't even exist. Now we almost all have one and use it for business purposes. The low upfront cost is another big advantage of the cloud. You pay so much a month. In the case of Amicus Cloud, it's $34.95 a month. I mean, that's really a very small sum in the in the cost of running a law practice, $34.95, and you just pay it once every month on a credit card, and you can cancel it at any time. So there's not a huge upfront investment. You can try it. You can see if you like it, and if you don't, you just cancel. It's a very easy way to get started. And interestingly, because it's an operating expense, in most jurisdictions that qualifies as a tax-deductible expense instead of a capital investment that you have to depreciate. In the end, those two things equal out over the typically 3 years of depreciation, but it's still a nice thing to do on your annual tax return. Cloud also has a big advantage in lower IT costs and hassles. There's really typically nothing to install. You just go to a site, answer a few questions, and click to log in, and there you go, you're off and running. There's also nothing to maintain. You don't have to install updates or upgrades in any way because the cloud service provider does all of that for you on the big central server. They take care of that overnight. You just have to keep a computer running that can keep your browser running. And that means as well that with the cloud, you're always up to date and typically always getting better. So for example, in the case of Amicus Cloud, every 3 to 4 weeks, we issue an update. There's one coming out tomorrow. And so the Amicus Cloud users tomorrow when they log in will have a whole series of new features that they didn't have today, and they had nothing to install or work with on their computer. That's just a really good advantage and one of the very attractive things about cloud. Also, the last bullet there, unlimited support. Now, not to say you can't get that with desktop, but it's optional on desktop. With the cloud, it's pretty much standard with every service provider. You get completely unlimited support and the ability to just phone or to do online chat or to send email, take your pick. It's always there and always available to you at no extra cost. All of which is to say cloud is mobile and easy, and those are some great advantages. All right, so let's just have a quick look at a cloud practice management system. This is Amicus Cloud, and you can see right away some important things about what's available in a cloud system. You can see from my menu bar across the top the types of things that are included, from email, file or practice or matter management, calendaring, tasks, contacts, phone calls, documents, your time and expenses, trust management is included in that, billing, and a variety of other tools, plus a global search function and even a timer. The other thing you can see from this screen right away is that practice management on the cloud gives you, wherever you are on whatever device, and by the way, you can tell just from looking at this that I'm using a Macintosh, but I could be using an iPad or an Android tablet or a PC or any such device. And what it's doing for me is on any of those devices, wherever I might be, I can log in and instantly see what's going on in my practice. So you can see I've got an appointment remaining today at 3 o'clock. I have 5 calls to return, 8 unread emails, a deadline, and some other tasks. 6 recent activities without time entries. I mean, I love these things as a snapshot because what it's doing is it's helping me with my practice. It's not just storing a bunch of information and allowing me to record things. It's looking at those things for me and helping me with them. And that's one of the unique features in the approach of Amicus Attorney. Look at this. I've got 8 files with unbilled work in progress exceeding $1,000 and 16 receivables more than 30 days old. You'll notice when my mouse goes over any of these, it's going to help me. I can show me my old accounts receivable, show me my work in progress, show me my calendar, show me that. 8 unread emails, show me my emails. I click that, and I go, and now I'm seeing my emails. This is another thing that's completely unique to Amicus Attorney or Amicus Cloud is that all of your email, whether you usually use Outlook, whether you usually use MacMail, all of your email is completely encompassed within your practice management in a cloud solution like this. So only Amicus Cloud offers that, but it's a huge advantage to the cloud when we're weighing cloud versus desktop. Because whether I send an email on my smartphone or I send it on my Outlook or I send it on my tablet, whether I use Amicus Cloud or I use the native applications on those devices for email, it will immediately and instantly be here in my Amicus Attorney, and it'll be managed for my practice. So in Outlook, I would see I had an email from Serena George, and neighbor, Janet Bailey, and so on. I'd see the subject. But what I get extra in Amicus is it knows what file these relate to. So you see, I haven't even opened this email yet from Ann Neighbor. It's already organized it for me onto the Neighbor Rhodes file. The other thing it does is it tells me right at a glance whether or not I've done a time entry for it. Some of them have done, some of them not. That's huge. So we're not here really to examine all of that other than to give you a sense of what you can do in the cloud, because what you can do is one of the big differences between the two platforms. So I've gone to the files list. I've opened the file called Bailey Reed Kipling. And you can see when I open that the types of information that are available, ranging again from all of the email that's happened on this matter, whether it's just my email or any of my colleagues at my firm who've sent or received emails on Bailey Reed Kipling, it'll be here. Appointments, tasks, phone calls, documents. So I've got full online document management in my practice management in the cloud. That actually is one of the huge advantages of the cloud, is that the documents are stored in the cloud, so whatever device I'm using, I can see them instantly. They're organized for me by client matter file, and you know, how many times does this happen to you? You go home at night not expecting to work on the Bailey Reed Kipling matter. The client phones up, there's an emergency, you've got to look at a bunch of documents. You didn't bring them home with you, but with a cloud system like this, you can just click and open any of these documents. You can read them on your iPad in the courthouse. Time and expenses, billing, full trust accounts, and custom information. So depending on your file type, you have unlimited custom fields that you can track anything you want. Pretty powerful and flexible for something in the cloud. There's calendaring with weekly, monthly views, group calendaring, task management, contact management, phone calls. Here's the documents module, which shows me all of my documents across all my different matters. Time and expenses, billing. Here's where I can see what bills have I got done recently, what outstanding work in progress do I have. So I've got some $17,000 in work in progress. Maybe I should be billing some of this. Here's a file with $1,200 on it. I could just click that and bill, or batch bill if I prefer. So there's a wide variety of different powerful practice tools available in a cloud solution. But there's a downside. And everybody knows about these concerns. We're going to talk about them. Here is the list of the main concerns. Number one being security and client confidentiality. Let's have a look at this one because it's really the core of the debate right now about the cloud. As attorneys, we have an ethical duty to maintain client confidentiality. And no matter what anyone tries to tell you, it's simply true that no data anywhere on the cloud is 100% secure. The Chinese have hacked the Pentagon. It is simply not possible for the most secure institutions in the world to guarantee 100% security. So it's relative. I mean, the Pentagon, I think, is 99.999, an awful lot of nines secure, and other facilities can be too. Others not so much, and we're going to talk about how you can identify which are more secure. And the important thing to remember about that is don't be scared by that statement that no data anywhere on the cloud is 100% secure, because data is not perfectly secure in your office either. I mean, it really comes down to how strong is the lock on your front door. Because if somebody wants to find out what's going on in your law practice, let me tell you, for most of us, it's an awful lot easier for them to buy a crowbar at the hardware for $5 and pry open your front door than it is to get a hacker. Hacking isn't easy. You know, we hear all of these myths about it. You watch movies where these high school kids can get into high security facilities. You know, it doesn't just work like that. If you have someone who wants to know something confidential about your practice, they're going to find it easier with a crowbar. So when it comes down to your ethical responsibilities, the fact that it might theoretically be possible for someone to get at your data does not prevent you from putting your data there, because if it did, keeping it in a locked file drawer in a locked office wouldn't be good enough either. So this debate has come up repeatedly before state bar ethics committees, and quite a number of them now in both Canada and the United States have issued opinions about it. Here's the Massachusetts State Bar opinion, which was issued about a year ago now, and many of them read very similarly. And they say that a lawyer generally may store and synchronize electronic work files containing confidential client information across different platforms and devices using an internet-based storage solution. That's a lot of long words to say they can use a cloud solution. But here's the key words. So long as the lawyer undertakes reasonable efforts to ensure that the provider's terms of use and data privacy policies, practices, and procedures are compatible with the lawyer's professional obligations, including the obligation to protect confidential client information. So what have they really said? They've said, oh, it's not unethical, you can do it, but it's up to you to take reasonable efforts to ensure things are going to stay confidential. Oh, thank you, because now what they've done is they've imposed on us the obligation to take those reasonable efforts, and that's what we have to talk about. What are reasonable efforts? How can you know? Well, let's start with the servers. Some servers are more secure than others, and a lot of this comes down to questions you need to be asking about any cloud solution you use. And I talk about here, like under the desk, I mean, some cloud solutions, they're small companies and they have a little row of servers in the back room or under the programmer's desk, and that's where your data is stored. That's not very secure. Others are in a virtually impregnable server farms, which would take a military action for anybody to get into. And then there's generic solutions like Dropbox, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and legal-specific solutions. Legal-specific solutions tend to, although you can't guarantee this, but they tend to be more conscious of client confidentiality because their market is lawyers and they know the standard that has to be met. In the case of Amicus Cloud, data is stored in Microsoft Azure, which is the world's leading secure data center. And among other clients of Azure are NASA, Boeing, Lockheed, both huge defense contractors, VeriSign, who's the #1 internet security agency. I mean, these are all companies who have the ultra highest security standards, and they've chosen Azure. And I think it's safe to say that very few law firm networks are as secure as NASA. And so, you know, when you have a duty to exercise reasonable care, I would suggest to you, you have to make your own decision, but I would suggest to you that being as secure as NASA is probably meeting your obligation of taking reasonable care. I've got that little nasty bullet in there, government surveillance. And we've all been reading the news lately about some of these government projects and the bulk of information that they're receiving and reading. We've just got to recognize that's in the news. I don't have more inside information about what the government's doing than you do. It is out there. It may or may not be a concern to you, and that's just out there as a factor. If you want to read more about some of these standards, I've put a link on there. We've got a large section on our website which really isn't about selling or anything about at all. It's just about informing our marketplace. We have 30 or 40 or more links to really good articles on this subject that you might want to look up. So it's Amicus Cloud Overview Ethics. All right, as you talk about your duty to take reasonable care, as the State Bar guidelines say, don't forget about some other factors. Public hotspots. In a word, don't use them. They're very easily hacked, and once they're hacked, a hacker can see what's on your screen, and the hacker has your passwords. I mean, we've all gone into Starbucks and seen some guy in the corner looking at his laptop with an empty cup of coffee in front of him, and he seems to hang out there all day. It may be just a student doing his homework, or it may be somebody trolling to see what he can pick up. You don't know, and it's not safe. There was a California ethics opinion a few years ago where a lawyer was found negligent for using a public hotspot whereby his information was intercepted and the client's confidential information was disclosed. Once you've got an ethics opinion like that out there, I'd say it's pretty clear, don't use it. And if you have any doubts, look up that link there on my slide, because that's a PC World magazine where a PC World author went out to a Starbucks or some such place, logged into a public hotspot with software he downloaded for free that allowed him to snoop. And he tells you in the article everything he could see on everybody else's computer. It's very scary. All right, Dropbox comes out. You probably have heard of Dropbox. It's a very convenient utility for having your documents accessible to any device. I really like it. It's a simple model, and it allows file sharing, so you can even use Dropbox to share files with your clients. I strongly advise you not to do that because it's prone to human error. It's a consumer tool. It's not designed for lawyers, and there's already a bunch of horror stories out there about people who got the sharing privileges wrong and thought they were sharing documents with their clients and shared them with the wrong people. It also might be a security hole. If you look up that link here on my slide, and by the way, I think these slides are going to be posted. You don't have to be writing this down like crazy. This is a situation where a company hired a security expert to try and hack their network and to get in to make sure their network was hacker-proof. And this was a highly experienced hacker. He could not get in. He gave them a clean bill of health as a highly secure network, and then he discovered the vice president used Dropbox. And within a few hours of making that discovery, he could get everything off of their network. So the word is Dropbox is a potential security hole as much as it's convenient. That said, in that new release of Amicus coming out tomorrow, we've put a link into it because a lot of our customers use Dropbox and want it. It's not my job to tell you how to practice law, so we have put a superb link to Dropbox into our product. I still think it's a questionable thing to do when you practice. There are other things you have to think about in exercising reasonable care about the cloud. Do you have a right to privacy with your data? Not with Gmail. Read the terms of service. And if you doubt me, there's a class action going on, and I believe it's in California right now, against Google for lack of privacy in Gmail. And just last week, Google filed a factum in response which stated that no one should have an expectation of privacy when using Gmail. That's in their factum filed with the court. There's the link to it. Really, to use Gmail in a professional practice after Google themselves have put that into a court document, I suggest not wise. Most importantly, read the terms of service. Right, I have too much to say. I'm running out of time. Consider offline access. That's another potential downside in the cloud. If you're in situations where you can't get to the internet, you're stuck. And here on my slides, I've given you a series of questions that if you're looking at the cloud, you should be asking a cloud vendor. There's a variety of different important subjects here that you've got to go through. All right, let's switch to the desktop. What are the advantages of a desktop solution? Well, fundamentally, it will do more for you. Desktop products, again, I'm generalizing. They're not all made the same, but certainly in the Amicus case, they do a lot more for you. Larger feature sets, and each feature is deeper and richer. There's more customization, more integrations, more automation, faster performance, no dependency on an internet, and it keeps working. With cloud, if you stop paying, boom, that's it, you're done. With desktop, once you've paid once, you don't have to pay again. So long-term, they're less expensive, and they have far fewer privacy or security issues. And most importantly, I think for some people's peace of mind, you own and control your own data. Now, somebody sent in advance, is it really cheaper, or which is more expensive? So they asked me to put in this slide, and I did. Let's just take a simple firm, 3 lawyers, 2 assistants. With Amicus Attorney Small Firm, it's going to cost you over 3 years $4,530, and that's no service required. That's with our maintenance program, which means unlimited support, all upgrades and enhancements, so it's the equivalent of cloud in that respect, a smartphone app, everything, $4,500, and keeps working if you stop paying. A typical cloud solution, I took this right off their website, and their price, it's about $50 a user a month, and that over 3 years is going to come to $93.58. So really, the desktop product is half the cost. It's very tough to argue with that math. It's very simple. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that, that you should just look at it as a matter of cost. It's not just about money. I mean, almost always desktop's going to be less expensive over time, especially if you do a cost per feature. But monthly payments, hey, there's great cash flow advantages to that. We're all happy to pay a little bit more over time if each month costs less. And it's not about cost anyway, because practice management is an investment. It's about getting more money out of your practice. And if you picked a good practice management program, you're going to get a tremendous return on that investment. And you're going to get a great return whether you choose cloud or desktop, assuming you've chosen a great solution. So while desktop will be less expensive, I don't think that that's the real consideration. It's what benefits will you get out of the two flavors, and which is more important to you. All right, I don't have anywhere near enough time to be showing you a desktop versus cloud comparison, but I think it's really important to appreciate when I say more features and each feature is deeper and richer, what do I mean by that? Well, here on this screen, I'm showing you the event details for a task in Amicus Premium. This is Amicus Attorney's desktop, and it's a to-do to draft document. And down in the bottom, okay, and let's have a look first of all at the kinds of things you can see. Obviously, put in a title to do. There's a do button. When you click that, Amicus will actually draft your document right here with document assembly. It's got a date when you want to be reminded to start working on it and a deadline. 2 dates are really important. Priority levels, categorizations, progressive priorities, so that over time, if you don't get this thing done, it's going to go up to a top or critical thing. You can relate it to multiple different files or firm members or people, so the same task can be assigned to a bunch of people. And look at the choices down here. You can get different reminders. You can be notified if this task is changed. You can have it repeat, link it, have it do different things, keep notes, lists of notes. You can keep associated documents, email, and you get an automatic history of every change to the event. So there's multiple layers of sophistication to how it's going to help you with a task. Down at the bottom, this is a Clio task, and you don't get a start date. All you get is a due date. One person can be responsible and only one. No associated contact, some reminders, a short description, and a cross-reference to one file, and that's it, none of the rest. Here's the same task in Amicus. Now we're just looking at the links to show you the sense that you can have multiple different tasks and appointments linked together in a sequential workflow, completion statuses, all sorts of things, and down there by comparison, that's a Rocket Matter task. Again, extremely simplistic. So that's what I mean when I say desktop is going to have much deeper and richer features. If you were just looking at it on a checklist basis, all of these products would say, do we have task management? Check, yes, we do. But what do you want in your practice? You want sophisticated practice automation and practice management, or do you just want a to-do list? All right, I don't have conceivably time to show you more about that, but let's talk about mobility, because the huge cloud advantage is that mobility and multi-platform device. With desktop, with most applications, you can't do that. You install it on a PC, and that's where you're stuck. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to go all the way into the cloud to get that mobility. Because there's something called hybrid or private cloud solutions, which can give you the best of both worlds. When you're using a hybrid cloud solution, the database is on your server in your firm. It's not in the cloud. But you get some of the same, most of the same advantages as cloud, in that you can use those other devices. And the data briefly goes through the internet from your server to the cloud device, be it an iPad or something like that. But on its way, it's 256-bit encrypted, which is techno talk for as secure as what the banks use, very, very well encrypted. And you can use all the same platforms as cloud. So we talked about, is it desktop or cloud, but now we've got 3 things on the table because we've got hybrid solutions. And hybrid solutions, I think, have some of the best advantages because you get the security and control of having your own database on your own server. Nothing stored in the cloud and nothing stored on your mobile device. So if you leave your iPad in the back seat of a taxi, there's nothing on it. Nobody can get anything. We talked about the desktop having the advantages of the deep power, automation, great functionality, and you get that with a hybrid solution, and it's far more than any cloud product. I mean, I'm very proud of Amicus Cloud as a cloud product. I think it's, in functional terms, by far the most powerful cloud product out there, but I have to admit that Amicus Premium, in terms of pure functionality, runs rings around it. Well, with a hybrid solution, you get both. and you get the freedom to use it from anywhere. It's an instant connection. It's effectively the best of both worlds. So let's have a look, because there was Amicus Cloud, but over here, this is what we call Amicus Anywhere, because Amicus Attorney Premium, starting this year in 2013, is a hybrid cloud solution. So I am running right now on the cloud off a server. Actually, my server is just a laptop in the office next door, and I can see all of the different elements of my practice, just like with the cloud application. Here's all my files. Let's open Bailey Reed Kipling. There's that file, appointments, tasks, time entries, and other such things. And I can do all of that right from here. Again, I'm using a Macintosh. I'm using this. I could be using an iPad, and I've got all the mobility of the cloud at my fingertips. So hybrid cloud looks and feels and works like a cloud application when you choose to use it through the cloud, and it has all the advantages of a desktop application and the sophistication and power underneath. All right, who's this fellow and what's he doing? Well, it's somebody using a smartphone, and it's really a fourth layer to this discussion, and that we all use smartphones so much. We do business phone calls, we do business emails, we do calendaring, and smartphones use the cloud if you want to connect and share information through them. The interesting thing is when they do so, they can either use the public cloud or the private cloud. So here's an example of Amicus Timekeeper, which is an application that will run on your smartphone and do your time entries. And I'm showing it on an iPhone. And you can see I get my timesheet. There's a time entry. Here's just an example of how you put in the time. And very simply, it's fast, it's convenient. It connects real time to my server so that the instant I click save on a time entry, my assistant back at the office can bill it. It's in the system. I'm going to capture billable time I was losing before. I mean, it's part of the mobile world we live in. Now, here's the interesting thing again, though, is it works with either desktop or cloud. So, again, Time Tracker is really a hybrid cloud solution that will work with either. All right, now here's the big question. How do you choose? You can say, Ron, you talked very fast and you showed me a flying amount of information about both desktop and cloud. You talked about a lot of concerns and a lot of benefits on both sides, and I did. Really, there is no single right answer. You must exercise the reasonable care that the state bar guidelines lay out if you're looking at the cloud. And that begins with reading the terms of service and looking at a lot of factors, asking the questions that I laid out in those slides. But you also have to ask yourself some questions. What's most important for your firm? You've seen that cloud has some advantages desktop doesn't, and vice versa. Which matter more to you? How do you work? If you have a mobile practice where you're always on the go and always need information from somewhere else and want to live with your iPad, then I think cloud is the way for you to go. If you have a practice where most of your time is spent in the office and or from home, then desktop is probably the way you want to go. If you want really sophisticated automation, if you really want to turn the crank on your practice and maximize the financial return you can get out of your practice, and that matters more to you than just being flexible and fast, then desktop is the way to go. How much customization do you need to do? Because you saw, for instance, in Amicus Cloud, you can have unlimited custom fields. There's a bunch of customizable lists. There's some decent customization. But if you really want to go deep and have, for instance, security access profiles so each person in your firm can see and do different things and junior associates can't see the bills going out to clients and a variety of other things like that, then again, you need a more sophisticated solution, which would be desktop. How comfortable are you with cloud security? I mean, I laid out some of the concerns, some of the issues, but it comes down to your gut. When you read the newspaper like I do about what the government is looking at or not looking at, how much do you think that impacts your privacy? Hey, don't forget Max. If you want to use a Mac at home, you can use hybrid cloud, no problem. But if you want to use it as your primary workstation, then you need to use a cloud solution. There are no practice management solutions which are Mac native, which are anywhere close up to the sophistication of the of Amicus Cloud or other leading cloud solutions. Do you have or want a server? I mean, if you already have a server in your firm and you're comfortable using it and keeping it going, then the balance probably tips towards desktop. But if you don't have one and don't want one and would just as soon only ever keep your laptop running, then the balance very heavily tips to cloud. So these are questions I can't answer for you. These are questions you need to ask yourselves, and they will steer you to looking at cloud or desktop, and then you can identify the vendors that you want to talk to. Cloud's best for some. Desktop's best for others. Hybrid is, to me, in any case, is the best of both worlds and should be given strong consideration. The Amicus Anywhere approach. And that allows you to practice anywhere, anytime, on almost any device. In other words, it does allow you to have your cake and eat it too. I want to say thanks very much for listening. If you want to find out more about Amicus Attorney, it's a pretty obvious URL to go to. And down below in the smaller URL there, amicusattorney.com, products, desktop, or cloud, we have a section of our website dedicated to helping you make the choice. And it's got some more factors and details there than I could put into this brief webinar. Go ahead and go look at it. Sure, compare Amicus Attorney to other solutions, no problem. But you need to answer for yourselves what's best. And as I said, we have no bias between the two. We're delighted to help.